Are you tired of feeling misunderstood or trapped in endless back and forths that lead nowhere? What if I told you that the problem isn't what you're saying, but how you're saying it? Today, we're diving into a powerful approach that could completely transform the way you communicate, and it's called pragmatism. But here's the kicker. It's not just about being clear or polite. It's about getting results, and that's where most communication strategies fall short. You see, effective communication isn't about using the right words. It's about using the right approach to actually connect, solve problems, and get things done. This video isn't just going to tell you what you're doing wrong. It's going to show you how to use a mindset that turns ordinary conversations into opportunities for real impact. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. Stick with me, and let's unlock the communication tools that will change the way you speak and listen forever. Number 1, say less, mean more. Have you ever found yourself in a conversation where you just can't seem to get to the point? You're talking and talking and talking, hoping that the other person catches on. But in the end, they're left more confused than ever. Well, here's the thing. What if I told you that saying less could actually make you sound smarter, more powerful, and more persuasive? Yes, trust me on this one. Sometimes less is so much more. You know the type of conversation I'm talking about, the one where you're trying to explain something, but it feels like you're stuck in an endless loop. The more you explain, the less impact you have. You start adding more details, more examples, more just one more thing, until before you know it, your point has been buried beneath a mountain of words. I'm sure you've been there, struggling to get your message across, but somehow your words aren't landing. Here's where the idea of say less, mean more comes in. I know what you're thinking. That sounds too simple to work. But hear me out. The brain processes information more effectively when it's delivered concisely. People's attention spans are short, and when you speak too much, they zone out. When you say less, you force them to pay attention. You create space for impact with fewer words. It's like a punch that lands harder because it's precise, not a flurry of jabs that lose their force in the noise. Let me tell you about a time this really hit home for me. I was at a family dinner, and as usual, my cousin started going on and on about his latest work project. He was giving me all the details, the timeline, the complications, everything but the point. So I did something I never thought I would do. I stopped him and said, "So what's the main thing here?" He blinked a few times, but then it hit him. He had been rambling for so long, he hadn't actually said what he wanted me to take away from all of it. With just a few words, I was able to understand exactly what he needed, and he realized that simplifying his message made it clearer for everyone involved. Now imagine how much more effective your conversations could be if you practice this. Saying less doesn't just save time, it creates clarity. You stop overloading people with information and instead give them a chance to actually hear you. It's empowering. It gives you back control of the narrative. You're not just talking to fill the silence, you're speaking to make an impact. And trust me, there's nothing more powerful than speaking with intention and clarity. So next time you find yourself explaining something in circles, pause, cut back, trim the fat, say less, but make it count. This is about reclaiming your voice, your time, and your influence. The more you practice saying less, the more you'll realize that your words hold a lot more weight than you ever thought. Your space, your peace, and your dignity, all of it comes with having the courage to speak less, but mean so much more. Number 2, pause for impact. Ever noticed how the most memorable conversations aren't the ones with the fastest talkers, but with the ones who know how to pause? It sounds a bit strange, right? Pausing intentionally. Yes, trust me on this. The next time you're talking, pause and watch what happens. Now, you might be thinking, But won't that make things awkward? Won't I sound unsure? Here's the thing. We're so used to filling every silence with words, it's almost uncomfortable to stop. But here's a wild thought. What if silence could be your greatest ally? What if, instead of rushing to fill every second, you let the silence sit there for a moment, giving your words space to resonate? You know the type of conversation I'm talking about. You're in a meeting, or maybe having a casual chat with a friend, and you're speaking fast, trying to keep the flow going, maybe even over-explaining to avoid that awkward silence. You can almost feel the pressure to keep talking, right? I've been there too. The more we talk, the more we lose track of the point. You start to ramble, and it's like your brain is begging for a pause, but you push on anyway. It's exhausting for both sides. And let's be real, nothing gets lost faster than a conversation where no one takes a breath. Here's where the magic of pausing comes in. When you pause, even just for a second, you create space for your words to land. It's like giving the other person room to think. Suddenly, your message doesn't just pass through them, it sticks. Think about it. When someone says something important, they don't rush through it. They give the words weight, and the silence in between allows us to process what was said. It's a psychological thing. When we're given a moment to reflect, we actually hear the message, rather than just waiting for our turn to speak. I'll give you an example from my own life. A few months ago, I was having a serious conversation with a colleague about a project. Normally, I'm the type to keep the conversation going, pushing for clarity, filling any gaps in the dialogue. But this time, I decided to change it up. When I said something important, I just stopped talking. There was a pause, maybe just a couple of seconds, but it felt like an eternity. My colleague actually stopped, looked at me, and then asked a question that completely shifted the course of our discussion. That pause, uncomfortable at first, gave her the space to think, and when she spoke, the conversation deepened. It was a game changer. Now here's the thing. Pausing for impact isn't about being silent for the sake of it. It's about empowering yourself and the person you're speaking with to give words their proper weight. It's a strategy of reclaiming your space in conversations instead of just filling every silence with noise. It's about making what you say matter. Think about the next time you're talking to someone. Whether it's a business meeting, a serious conversation, or even a casual chat. Pause before responding. Let the other person's words sink in, and let your own words have room to breathe. This isn't about being shy or quiet. It's about strength. Strength in knowing that you don't need to rush, that your words are powerful enough to stand on their own. This is about reclaiming your space, your peace, and your power. When you pause, you command attention without saying a word. Your message becomes stronger, your presence more powerful. And trust me, when you embrace the pause, you'll find your conversations going to places you never thought possible. So take a breath, pause, and let your words work for you. Number 3, radical transparency. What if I told you that the best way to build trust and authority in any conversation is to be radically transparent? Yes, I know it sounds a bit bold, but hear me out. What if, instead of playing it safe or hiding behind half-truths, you simply told it like it is? No fluff, no pretenses. Now you might be thinking, that's risky. What if I come off as rude or too blunt? Well, I get it. It's a little uncomfortable at first, but once you try it, you'll see how powerful and freeing it can be. You know the type of conversation I mean. The one where you're holding back, trying to say the right thing, or avoiding the hard truths to keep the peace. It's easy to get caught up in wanting to be liked or in avoiding difficult topics. But here's the problem. When we do that, we're not being honest with ourselves or anyone else. We've all been there, nodding along when we actually disagree, or giving a half-hearted response when what we really want to say is much stronger. It's exhausting, and frankly, it doesn't help anyone. So, how do we break free from this cycle? Radical transparency is the answer. It's not about being brutally honest in a hurtful way, but about stripping away the layers of unnecessary politeness and giving people the real deal. It's about saying exactly what you mean, even when it's uncomfortable, and being open about your thoughts, feelings, and intentions. When you speak with radical transparency, you create an environment where everyone involved knows exactly where they stand. You're no longer hiding behind vagueness, and you're not leaving room for misunderstandings. You're telling the truth, and that truth, however uncomfortable, has power. I'll give you an example. A few years ago, I was working on a project with a team, and things were starting to get off track. People were tiptoeing around issues, being polite, and not addressing the real problems. One afternoon, I decided to step in. I said, "Look, we need to be real with each other. We're all dancing around the issues, but nothing is getting solved. Let's stop pretending and just say what we think is wrong." It was a little scary, I won't lie. But the room fell silent for a moment, and then, boom, the floodgates opened. People started speaking their minds, addressing the root issues, and from that point on, we made real progress. Radical transparency doesn't mean being insensitive, but it does mean showing up as your full, authentic self. Now, I'm not saying it's always easy. It takes courage to speak your truth, especially when it goes against the grain or challenges the status quo. But when you do it, you build trust. You show people that they don't have to guess where you stand. You create stronger, more authentic relationships because the truth has room to breathe. You're not just reacting to what others want to hear. You're taking control of the narrative. This is about reclaiming your space, your peace, and your dignity. It's about being unapologetically you, without fear or hesitation. So the next time you find yourself holding back or biting your tongue, remember this: radical transparency isn't about being harsh, it's about being real. Your words, your opinions, and your authenticity matter. Let them shine. Speak your truth, even when it's uncomfortable, and watch how it transforms the way you connect with the world. Your space, your peace, and your dignity, all of it starts with honesty. Be transparent and watch how it empowers you and everyone around you. Number 4, emotion over logic. Here's a bold thought. What if emotions, not logic, should be your guiding compass in decision-making? Yes, trust me on this. Emotions over logic. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Isn't logic supposed to be the most reliable way to make decisions? It's easy to see logic as the safe route, the one that keeps us grounded and thinking clearly. But here's the kicker. Our emotions are just as powerful, if not more so, when it comes to making the right choices. We've all been there, caught in a situation where logic says one thing, but your gut, your heart, just knows something else. Maybe it's a job offer that looks perfect on paper, but something about it doesn't sit right. Or you're debating whether to confront a friend, even though logic tells you it'll cause drama. In these moments, we often ignore that gut feeling and choose what makes sense instead. But here's the thing. When you dismiss your emotions, you're ignoring a massive part of what makes you human, and often it leads to decisions you'll regret. Emotion over logic isn't about throwing reason out the window. It's about recognizing that our feelings are deeply connected to our values, experiences, and intuition, which makes them incredibly powerful when we tap into them. Think about it. When you're making decisions based purely on logic, you're often making them from a place of fear or obligation. But when you let your emotions guide you, you're more aligned with what truly matters to you. It's your heart telling you what feels right. Let me share an example from my own life. A few months ago, I had to choose between two opportunities. one that offered more money, a more stable path, and was the logical choice, and one that made my heart race with excitement, but was a bit riskier. Logic said, "Take the stable job. It's practical," but deep down, I knew I'd be miserable. I wasn't excited, I wasn't inspired, I wasn't living my truth. So, against all logic, I chose the riskier path. Sure, it was scary, but I've never felt more fulfilled. My emotions knew exactly what I needed, even when my mind was filled with doubts. Here's the thing. When you listen to your emotions, you're giving yourself permission to trust yourself. It's about reclaiming your intuition, your joy, and your peace. Logic can get in the way by focusing too much on what should be rather than what is right for you. And let's be honest, how many times has doing the right thing left you feeling drained or stuck? By choosing emotion, you choose what feels good, what excites you, and what aligns with who you are at your core. So next time you're standing at a crossroads, ask yourself, what do you feel? What is your gut telling you? This is about reclaiming your space, your peace, and your dignity. Stop letting fear or overthinking control your decisions. Trust your emotions to lead you and watch how it transforms your life. Emotions are not your enemy. They're the key to making bold, authentic choices. Let your heart take the wheel, and you'll find that logic will follow. Number 5, the 2-minute rule. Here's a game-changing concept for you, the 2-minute rule. Yes, it's that simple, and yes, it's going to change the way you approach everything from your to-do list to your productivity. Now, you might be thinking, 2 minutes? That's it? What's so special about that? Trust me on this. 2 minutes is all it takes to take control of your day and skyrocket your effectiveness. We've all been there, right? You're sitting at your desk, looking at a pile of tasks, and that overwhelming sense of dread starts creeping in. You know you've got things to do, but somehow you can't get started. Or maybe you're thinking, I'll get to it later, and then later turns into days of procrastination. We've all had those moments where the simple act of starting feels like climbing a mountain. The 2-minute rule. It's designed to eliminate that block. Here's how it works. If something will take 2 minutes or less to do it right now. No excuses. Whether it's replying to an email, filing a document, or even putting your laundry away, if it takes less than 2 minutes, don't waste time thinking about it. Just do it. Sounds easy, right? But here's the magic. It's not just about getting stuff done. It's about changing your mindset. When you start checking off small tasks, you build momentum. You start to feel like you're in control, like you're making progress. And suddenly, the big tasks don't feel so intimidating. Let me give you an example from my own life. A while ago, I had a mountain of emails piling up. They were all short, simple responses, but I kept putting them off because I thought, I'll do it when I have more time. One day, I decided to follow the 2-minute rule and just get them done. In less than 10 minutes, I had cleared out my inbox, and you wouldn't believe the sense of relief I felt. I went from dreading my inbox to feeling like a productivity powerhouse. What I realized is that this small act freed up mental space for more important tasks. It was about conquering the little things that had been dragging me down without even realizing it. This rule is a game changer because it helps you take action, even when you feel overwhelmed. It's about reclaiming your time, your focus, and your mental energy. No more overthinking or stressing about everything that needs to get done. Just focus on the next 2 minutes. It's a simple habit, but it has the power to create massive change in how you manage your tasks and even your mindset. By embracing this rule, you free yourself from the trap of procrastination and put yourself in the driver's seat of your day. Remember, you don't have to tackle everything at once. Start small. With the 2-minute rule, you're taking back control, one small task at a time. And when you do that, you're reclaiming your space, your peace, and your dignity. The best part, you'll feel accomplished, you'll feel in charge, and you'll be amazed at how much you can achieve when you just take those 2 minutes. Number 6, disruptive listening. Here's a concept that might just turn your world upside down. Disruptive listening. Yes, I said disruptive. And no, it's not about interrupting people or making them feel unheard. It's about listening in a way that challenges the status quo, a way that pushes the conversation forward and opens up new possibilities. Now you might be thinking, wait, listening. How can listening possibly be disruptive? Trust me on this, when you listen differently, everything changes. We've all been in those conversations where someone is talking, but you're just waiting for your turn to speak. You're thinking about what you're going to say next, not really hearing the person in front of you. Or maybe you've been in meetings where everyone's nodding along, but no one's really engaging with the ideas being shared. You know the type, the ones where you walk out thinking, what even happened in there? We've all been there, right? The problem isn't that we don't have good ideas. It's that we aren't listening in a way that encourages the flow of those ideas. This is where disruptive listening comes in. Instead of just waiting for your chance to speak, what if you truly leaned into what the other person is saying, not just with your ears, but with your mind? What if you didn't just accept what they were saying at face value, but asked questions that dug deeper, that pushed for clarity, and maybe even challenged the assumptions behind their words? When you listen disruptively, you make space for fresh perspectives and powerful breakthroughs. It's like having a conversation where the goal isn't just to respond, but to evolve the idea together. Let me give you an example. A while ago, I was in a brainstorming session at work. The team was stuck. Everyone was just throwing out the same ideas that we'd all heard 100 times. But then, one person started asking questions that seemed simple at first, like, why are we doing this? Or, what if we thought about it this way instead? The tone wasn't aggressive, but the questions were disruptive. They made everyone pause and reconsider everything. Suddenly, the whole room shifted. Ideas started to flow. People started thinking critically, and by the end, we had something that felt truly innovative. It was the power of listening, really listening and responding with intention, not just with the next thing you've got ready in your head. Disruptive listening isn't just about improving conversations, though. It's about reclaiming your time, your space, and your role in any discussion. Instead of feeling like you're just a participant, you become an active creator of the dialogue. You stop backing down or over-explaining, and instead, you bring value by asking the right questions and exploring ideas. You become the person who doesn't just accept the surface-level answers, but digs into the deeper truths. This approach challenges not only others' thinking, but your own as well, pushing everyone towards growth. When you start practicing disruptive listening, you stop fearing silence or awkward pauses. You embrace the discomfort that comes with really examining what's being said. It's about having the courage to disrupt the pattern, to dig deeper, and ultimately to create better, more meaningful exchanges. It's about your space, your voice, and your ideas being heard, understood, and valued. And let's be clear, this isn't about being confrontational. It's about being intentional and open. So, the next time you find yourself in a conversation or a meeting, remember that disruptive listening could be your superpower. It's a way of listening that transforms how you show up, how you grow, and how you empower those around you. By embracing this approach, you'll not only improve your own understanding, but help those around you find new depth in their thinking. When you listen disruptively, you unlock not just better ideas, but better outcomes. Your space, your peace, and your dignity reclaimed through the power of truly listening. Number 7, tell me what you want, not what you don't. Here's a game changer for you. Stop telling people what you don't want. Instead, Tell them what you do want. Sounds simple, right? But trust me, this little shift can transform your life in ways you might not expect. Now, you might be thinking, but I always tell people what I don't want because I want them to avoid doing the wrong thing. Yes, I get that. We've all done it. It's almost like trying to prevent disaster by focusing on everything that could go wrong. But here's the twist. By focusing on what you don't want, you're just reinforcing negativity. The power is in shifting that energy to what you do want. Think about it. How often have you been in a situation where someone asks you what you need or want, and you start listing all the things you don't want instead? I don't want to be late, or I don't want to feel overwhelmed. Sounds familiar, right? It's like you're so focused on avoiding the bad that you forget to create space for the good. We've all been there, whether it's in a conversation, a meeting, or even with ourselves. We get stuck in the negative and it's draining. It's like trying to drive forward while staring in the rearview mirror. Sure, you're aware of the obstacles, but you're not moving toward the destination. Here's where the magic happens. When you start focusing on what you want, suddenly everything shifts. Instead of saying, I don't want to feel stressed, try saying, I want to feel calm and in control. Instead of, I don't want this meeting to be boring, say, I want this meeting to be engaging and productive. When you clearly state what you do want, it creates a positive direction. It's a mindset shift that pushes you forward rather than keeping you stuck in the same cycle of anxiety or frustration. It's like reprogramming your brain to look for solutions instead of pitfalls. Let me share a personal example. A few months ago, I was feeling overwhelmed with a project. I kept saying, I don't want to be stressed out. I don't want to mess this up. But no matter how much I repeated it, all I was doing was amplifying my anxiety. Then one day a mentor told me, stop focusing on the negative. Tell me what you want instead. That hit me like a ton of bricks. I switched my approach. I started saying, I want to finish this project on time with a sense of accomplishment and peace. And suddenly, everything clicked. I wasn't avoiding stress anymore. I was aiming for something better. The clarity of what I wanted brought focus and confidence. And guess what? I finished the project on time and without the overwhelming dread I'd been feeling earlier. This shift doesn't just change how you approach tasks. It changes how you approach life. By focusing on what you want, you take back your power. It's about reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your time. It's about setting boundaries and expressing your needs with confidence. The next time you find yourself feeling overwhelmed, ask yourself, what do I want instead? You'll be amazed at how quickly you can turn your mindset around. You deserve to be clear about your desires, and when you express them, you're showing the world, and yourself, that you're in charge of your narrative. So, here's your takeaway. Stop wasting energy on avoiding the bad. Focus on what you truly want, and watch how it transforms not just your conversations, but your entire experience. Reclaim your space, your peace, and your dignity. You're not just going through the motions, you're actively shaping your future. Now go ahead, tell the world what you do want. Number 8. The brutal feedback loop. Here's a truth that might hit a little hard. The feedback loop we're stuck in is brutal, and it's probably holding you back. Let's face it, we all know the feeling. You work hard, you try to improve, and then someone hits you with feedback that feels less like constructive advice and more like a personal attack. Now you might be thinking, oh, that's just part of growing, right? Sure, but what if I told you this brutal feedback loop is actually doing more harm than good? Yes, trust me on this. This cycle of receiving feedback, getting defensive, and then overcorrecting can easily set us up for frustration, burnout, or worse, self-doubt. We've all been there, right? You pour your heart and soul into something, whether it's a project at work, a creative pursuit, or even something personal, and the feedback you get feels like it's missing the mark. Maybe it's vague, maybe it's harsh, or maybe it's just flat out confusing. It doesn't feel like guidance, it feels like judgment. So, what do? We start to second-guess ourselves. We tweak everything we've worked on to the point where it feels less like progress and more like a desperate scramble for validation. It's exhausting. And let's be real, it's not just frustrating, it's demoralizing. Now, here's the thing. This loop is something we can break out of if we shift our perspective. Instead of seeing feedback as a personal reflection of your abilities, think of it as information. That's right. Feedback is data. Think about it this way. When you look at feedback objectively, you can see it for what it is. An opportunity to adjust and refine, not an indictment of your worth or skill. This mindset shift is what makes all the difference. When you stop reacting emotionally and start responding strategically, you take back control of the narrative. Yes, it's hard, but it's empowering. Let me give you a personal example. A while back, I was working on a project and received feedback that hit me hard. It felt like a punch to the gut. I immediately started spiraling, questioning my entire approach and making wild changes to everything. I remember sitting in front of my screen, adjusting details, changing the tone of my work, all because I was trying to please everyone. It wasn't until I stepped back and reminded myself that feedback isn't about me, it's about the work, that things started to shift. I began asking myself, what can I actually learn from this? And that's when I stopped the madness. Instead of overcorrecting, I took a moment to process the feedback, distill what was actually useful, and use it to improve without losing my confidence in the process. This is about reclaiming your power, your clarity, and your confidence. Feedback is a tool, not a weapon. It's meant to help you refine your craft, not define your self-worth. So next time you get hit with feedback that stings, remind yourself, you don't have to make drastic changes to prove yourself. Instead, take a breath, assess the feedback, and then make the changes that truly align with your vision, not someone else's. You are in control. Here's your takeaway. Break the brutal feedback loop. Stop overreacting, stop scrambling, and stop trying to please everyone. Your space, your peace, and your dignity are worth protecting. You've got this. Just listen to the feedback, adjust what needs to be adjusted, and keep moving forward with confidence. Thank you so much for watching. I truly hope this video gave you some valuable insights into how pragmatism can completely shift the way you communicate, whether at work, in personal relationships, or in any situation that requires getting things done. If you found this helpful, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want more content like this, make sure to subscribe. There's plenty more where that came from. Also, don't forget to share this video with someone who could really benefit from it.